board. It was a little bit from yesterday. Go ahead and get this written down. We didn't quite get to this question yesterday, so we're going to get to it today. It says, is a rectangle a parallelogram? Go ahead and write that down as the title in the next blank page. All right, let's draw a picture of a rectangle so that we can look at its attributes to decide, is that shape a parallelogram? What are some things that you know about a rectangle? Raise your hand to tell me. What do we know about a rectangle? Bella, what do you know about a rectangle? It is a quadrilateral. What does that mean? Perfect. So we know it has 4 straight sides and 4 corners. And Bella's right. Instead of writing all that, we could just kind of say AKA. That is a quadrilateral. Very good. Make sure we get this in our notebook. What else do we know about a rectangle? What else do we know? Gwen, what do you know about a rectangle?
It has 2 parallel sides.
It has 2 pairs or 2 sets. Very good. We have 2 sets of parallel sides. Those parallel sets, we remember, are top and bottom. And then both of our sides are parallel. We have one more rule to a rectangle. We did this one yesterday. One more rule to a rectangle. Can you remember? Nope, that wasn't our rule. That wasn't our rule. Shelby, you remember? Nope, we've got 4 straight sides. That's what makes it a quadrilateral. Jackson, you remember?
The square.
The what?
The square.
The square.
Corner.
On the side? Square corners. We have to have 4 square corners. You might hear this as something else. You might hear it as 90-degree angles, or you might hear it as a right angle. All of those words are talking about the same thing. They're talking about square corners. They are talking about those special corners that we looked at. So now we've got our rules for a rectangle. Is a rectangle a parallelogram? Raise your hand to tell me. What do you think? Do we think that a rectangle is a parallelogram? Harper, what are your thoughts?
Yes, it is.
Okay, explain it to me.
Hold on. Okay, so yes, it is a rectangle because it follows all the rules of a parallelogram, but it also has different sets of parallelograms. Like a parallelogram has hold on.
So what I'm hearing Harper say is it does have parallelogram rules, right? Don't kick my pillow. This rule in this rule, make it a parallelogram. But what about this last rule? Does that mean it's not a parallelogram? Will?
No, wait, no, it still is a parallelogram, but the parallelogram will say nothing about it has to have 90-degree square corners.
Yeah, a rectangle is still a parallelogram because it does have those rules. But we might say, Harper, that it's a special parallelogram because it has extra rules. Parallelograms do have to be quadrilaterals. That's why I put both of those rules together. They have to be quadrilaterals, and they have to have the two pairs of parallel sides. So is a rectangle a parallelogram?
Yes.
Yes. It's just not the best name for it, but it is a parallelogram. Is a rectangle a quadrilateral?
Yes.
Yes. Lena, what's up? Oh, you were ready to say yes? All right, so now let's move on to...
It's a square parallelogram.
So let's look at these shapes. We have a whole category of shapes. We have a whole category of shapes. Brian says all of these shapes are parallelograms because they all have four sides. Is he correct? Well, first let's double check that there are four sides. Count the sides with me. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, it looks like all of those shapes had four sides. Is he correct? Is he correct? Brian says all these shapes are parallelograms because they all have four sides. Is he correct? Rachel, what's your thoughts on that?
I think he's not correct.
Oh, Mason says, wait a second. Parallelograms have to do something with those lines. What do parallelograms have to have? Finley? Yeah, they have to have parallel sides. How many pairs of parallel sides? 2. Mason's pointing out that arrow. Is that arrow got any parallel sides? No. No. Because they all touch. They would smash into each other. No matter what.
Any line that you put together.
So if I look at my opposite lines, I might say this one is opposite of this one. Those are definitely going to run into each other. This one is opposite of this one. It's definitely going to run into each other. There's no parallel line. So is he correct in saying they are all parallelograms?
No.
No. Which one is a parallelogram? Mason already told us this one, definitely not a parallelogram. Which one is a parallelogram? So we can put a check mark besides the one that is a parallelogram. Just one. Anyone? Yeah. That is a parallelogram. Very good. Will, come mark another parallelogram. Ooh. Does that one have 2 sets of parallel sides?
Oh, no.
Ooh, use the eraser. Make a new one. Which one is a parallelogram? We have to have 2 sets of parallel sides.
Oh, it's not going to be that one or that one. So that one.
That one has 2 sets of parallel sides. Very good. Mason, come check another parallelogram. Very good. We just talked about rectangles having also the name parallelogram. Michael, come check another parallelogram. Good. Gwen, come check another parallelogram. Does that one have two sets of parallel sides?
Yeah.
Does it?
No.
Wait, no,
There's no. So that's gonna run into that one.
Oh, it's gonna run into that one. That was a trick question, Gwen. Because those last two are not parallelograms because they only have one set of parallelogram or one set of parallel lines. We put an X on those last two instead of checks.
Yeah.
Gwen, bonus question. Are you ready? Do you know the name of those last two shapes? They sit in the same category. They are a trapezoid. Or high five.
I think you should.
They are a trapezoid. Very good. Thank you, Gwen. All right, next blank page in your notebook. Next blank page in your notebook. That's fine. I want you to draw this shape in your notebook. You probably already have an idea of what this shape is called, and that's okay. Go ahead and draw this shape in your notebook, and then we're going to make unequal sections. I want you to draw this shape, and then I want you to partition your rest of your paper not equally. So notice I did not draw it in half. I did separate it into two sections, but it's not in half because one side we're going to write a lot, and the other side we're not going to write as much. Sound you right?
That's fine.
Are you sure? Would you like paint? Quickly. All right, to determine what this shape is called, we're going to look at its attributes. What are attributes? Victor, what are attributes?
Down lines.
Nope, not. So that could be an example of an attribute. Lincoln, what are attributes?
Got it.
Lincoln, what are attributes? Rules of our shape, the characteristics. What are some attributes of this shape? What do we notice? What do we notice with this shape? Bella, what do you notice? It has, say that again? 4 square corners. Very good. That's going to be on the bigger side because this is where we're going to write a lot of things. The top. So we've got 4 square corners. Remember, we can fit that perfect square shape in all of those corners. If we were to measure, it would measure 90 degrees. We call that a right angle. Michael, what else do you notice about this shape? It does have 2 sets of parallel sides. To remind you, we look at opposite sides. So we have top and bottom are opposites. They are parallel. And then we look at the other opposite sides. If they keep going forever and ever, they'll never touch. They are parallel. Starper, what else do you notice?
That is a quadrant.
It is. What does that mean?
It means that like 4 straight sides, 4 corners.
So we've got 4 straight sides and 4 corners. talked about this shape we haven't seen in any other shape before. There's something about this shape that we have not seen in any other shape. Mason? You forgot? That's okay. Will?
All the lines like these, they're all the same length.
They are all equal length. All sides are the same length. That means if one side is 5 inches long, the other side is 5 inches long, and the other side is 5 inches long, and the other side is 5 inches long. All of those sides are the same, the exact same length. Now we're going to use these rules to come up with some names. Because each of these shapes have special names. Harper already gave us one. She said, hey, if it's got 4 straight sides and 4 corners, I know that is a quadrilateral. That's going to be on the short side. Yes. Yes. So that rule means that we can call that shape a quadrilateral. Will, you got some other thoughts?
I think it's a parallelogram.
It is a parallelogram. What rules tell you it's a parallelogram?
2 parallel sides and square corners.
Not square corners.
4 corners.
Just 4 corners and 4 straight sides. It's also a parallelogram because of those 2 rules. It's a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides, 4 corners. It's a parallelogram because it has 4 sides, 4 corners, and 2 sets of parallel sides. It's also a rectangle. Gwen, what are the rules of a rectangle? 4 square corners. 4 straight sides. And 2 sets of parallel lines. Also a rectangle. Because it has those 3 rules. Well,
What's the difference between a parallelogram and a quadrilateral and a rectangle?
the difference between a quadrilateral and a parallelogram is parallelograms have to have 2 sets of parallel sides. Quadrilaterals don't. They just have to have 4 sides. A rectangle has to have 4 sides and 2 sets of parallel sides and 4 square corners.
So a rectangle, it has to have more than like a parallelogram and a quadrilateral?
It has to have more rules, yep.
Okay.
More requirements. If I look at every single rule, if I look at 4 square corners, 2 sets of parallel sides, 4 straight sides, 4 corners, and all sides the same length, I get the best name for this shape.
A square.
A square. All of those names, though, name that shape. So if Blader raises his hand and says, hey, I know the name of that shape, it's a parallelogram. He is correct. That is a parallelogram. If Asha raises her hand and says, wait, I'm pretty sure it's a quadrilateral, she's still correct. It is a quadrilateral. And then Sean goes, wait, guys, it's totally a rectangle. He's still correct. It's also a rectangle.
There's just so
many names. None of those answers are wrong. But the best name, for that shape is a square because it's the most specific. It tells us the most about it. It has all of those attributes, all of those rules. Square means all four of those rules. No, I'm not sure. Nope. Here's our new shape. We're doing the same setup, just a different shape. Try your best to draw that shape. I know it's a little harder.
What shape?
The shape that is on the board, please.
Oh,
Once again, we're going to notice some attributes to figure out what this shape is. All right, what do we notice about its attributes? What characteristics do you see on that shape? Not a trick question. What do you notice about that shape? Devin? We have two sets of parallel sides. These parallel sides are a little different. We're going to look to our opposite sides. So I might do my top and bottom. If they go forever and ever, they will not run into each other. And then I might look at my sides, left and right. If those go on forever and ever, they will not run into each other. Devin is correct. We have two sets of parallel sides. Sean, what else do you notice about this shape?
I have a question.
Yes. What else do we notice? Always. But a rectangle is not always a square. What else do we notice about this shape? Devin and Will are the only ones that can notice things about shapes. Shelby? It has four straight sides and four corners. Anything else? Anything else? Well?
It has no, it doesn't have right angles.
It doesn't have right angles. You're correct. It's not quite a rule. The rule only applies if it does have that special angle. But we'll notice, hey, there are no square corners or right angles on this shape. That's going to be important. Devin, what else you notice? So what is all the same length? What is all the same length? The sides. All sides are the same. We're writing. All right, now we're going to use those rules that we came up with and come up with some names for this shape. What is another name for this shape that we know based on these rules? Harper? What rule tells you it's a quadrilateral? You got it. So on that other side, we know that this shape is, Mason, don't do that, a quadrilateral. We have the rule for it to be a quadrilateral. What else do we know? What else do we know, Victor? Yeah, so this is a parallelogram because it has those parallel sides and those four straight sides. So another name for this is parallelogram. Okay, go right there. Any other names for it? Michael?
square?
It is not a square.
It has straight sides.
It does have straight sides.
And parallel lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's not right angle. It doesn't
It's
have
not
right
a
angles.
rectangle.
There are no square corners. This is not a square.
So if it's not a square, it must not be a rectangle.
It is not a rectangle either. All right, let's look at all three of those rules. We've got parallel lines, 4 sides, 4 corners, all sides the same length, but no square corners. This shape is called
A rhombus.
a rhombus.
A rhombus. Rhombus.
Rhombus.
That's a square.
It is not a square. It is not a rectangle because it is missing those square corners. It looks similar to a square, but not a square.